It's time for a chat with Pat.
Yes, and today we have Roxane, I think it's Salonen, but I'll find out for sure. Wife and mother of five from Fargo, North Dakota. Award-winning children's author, freelance writer, Catholic radio host, speaker. Oh my, I could go on and on. She is just an amazing woman, but we want to jump right into this article that she wrote for National Catholic Register about her meeting with Pope Leo. Welcome, Roxane. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Okay, so before we jump into this, you wrote a previous article about connections to Pope Leo. Can you kind of give our audience an explanation of what these connections were?
Yeah, I have a priest friend here in Fargo, North Dakota, where I live. He's part of an organization called the Friends of Chimbote. And I have other friends that are involved in this, and they go down to Peru and really help the poorest of the poor. We've had this relationship between North Dakota and Chimbote, Peru for many years. And so when Pope Leo was named the Pope back in the spring, they were overjoyed. And so I wrote an article about that connection, was one of the things, because I write for my daily newspaper, The Forum, about faith. And so that was part of it. And then, and then I'm sure you want to know the rest of the story about how I got to meet Pope Leo with my husband on November 5th, which was amazing. Yeah.
Because it was 1 in 450 million chances that someone would get to meet the Pope. So please, and that ends up being the title of your article. 1 in 450 million, how a registered writer beat the odds to meet Pope Leo. So please tell us about it.
Yeah, well, and to make it as short as I can, but go to the, if you can just go online and put 1 in 450 million the register and you'll find my article, which explains the whole thing. But long story short, in 2022, my register co-writer and I wrote a book called What Would Monica Do through Ascension Press to help console the hearts of those whose children have left the faith or loved ones. And, obviously this is a story of our hearts. We have that situation ourselves. When I was writing the book, I was also interviewing Monsignor Steenson. He's a priest from, actually, he was Protestant. He converted to he converted to Catholicism eventually, and he became part of that movement that under Pope Benedict to bring the Anglicans over, over the Tiber. And so he really has led an amazing life. So we become friends, and he also is an expert in the Church Fathers. And so I've been in touch with him. He helped with some of the chapters of that book to round out the Monica and the Augustine story. And so we stayed in touch. And this year on the Feast of St. Monica, he wrote me and emailed, and I said, hey, Monsignor, I'm going to get to go to Rome. I've been looking forward to this. And I always said, I'm going to tap you when it's time because I want to visit St. Monica's tomb. And he said, I think you should give a copy of your book to the Pope. And I thought,
no kidding.
Okay. Well, he is the ordinariate to the chair of St. Peter. So he's he's up there. He was a bishop in the Anglican Church before he crossed over. So I thought, all right, well, tell me what to do. I'm busy. I don't know what to do. I would never in a million years have thought that this was possible back in the spring when Pope Leo was named Pope. I mean, now we're 6 months later, and this possibility opens up. So that's kind of how it started. Yeah.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Then,
can I ask real quick, where is St. Monica's tomb?
It is in the Basilica of St. Augustine in Rome, and it's not a well-traveled, it's not, it's kind of in a little corner off to the side. Yeah. And right now it's under construction. So we were able to go in there. We only had really one day. We were there with a tour group. So we only had a short amount of time where we could kind of plot our own, course. And I said, Troy, we have to go to the tomb of St. Monica before we leave. And so we did that. And it was the night before we actually got to meet the Pope. And we weren't 100% sure when we got the invitation because we pursued this with Monsignor's help. We pursued this with my bishop's help. I had a whole little letter that I sent off to the Vatican in my little, post office here. Could not send it certified mail without paying $80. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to have to pray that this makes it to the Vatican. And I realized it was on the feast of Our Lady of Sorrows which is my consecration day, anniversary of when I consecrated myself to Mary. And so I thought, I'm gonna be hopeful and just let it see what happens. And a couple weeks later, the Vatican emailed us and said, you're invited to a general audience. So we were excited and we thought we'd get to meet the Pope, but then we realized, I don't know, maybe this is just, maybe we're going to be out in the boonies. So we didn't know the whole time, but we were prepared to possibly be able to get close to Pope Leo. And it happened, and it was so amazing and exciting. And I got to sign a book, What Would Monica Do, and give him a copy, an autographed copy. I wrote him a little note in there, put my business card in there.
Oh,
so
my
it
gosh.
was a pretty exciting day. Yes.
So, like, what I realized probably you couldn't have a long conversation with him, but did he just thank you? Did he say anything else?
It's funny because he didn't say anything. He had done, by the time he got to us, he had been out in the crowds. And honestly, I didn't really think much about it. Yes, our time was short. There was a line behind us. We were up near the platform the whole time. And so we were very, very close to him. So to be honest, just being close to him was enough. And I didn't think about it till later when people started saying, well, what did he say to you? And I said, well, nothing. But I was quite busy because after my husband introduced us, I was sharing the book, and I was sharing also the article that you mentioned. So I had a sort of a mission in mind. I would have loved for him to respond, but I will never forget stepping up and looking into his eyes. I mean, and my husband, again, is a convert. So I think for him almost it was just as amazing as it was for me. And I was kind of busy, I had to fulfill this mission of giving him the book. So, I would have loved to have a chat, but there were so many people waiting. I wish I would have asked for a blessing or something. He gave a general blessing, so we did have that. But, I could have prompted him to talk, but I don't know. I just let him we just had a quiet exchange, and I shared about, St. Monica, and he smiled,
Yeah. So Roxane, were you part of that where, a lot of times at general audiences, they have a group of people that are giving portraits that they painted or things that they've done. Was that the group you were a part of because you had this book?
Yes.
Okay.
And we didn't know until that morning, really, where we were going to be. We weren't sure, but our tickets were different than most of the people, and so we started kind of figuring it out. We were at the gate with everyone else, and then when we went in, we went right to the Swiss Guards and kind of were like, where do we go? But I'm telling you, had we not done that, we might have just stayed out with the rest of the people and never had our crowd. But because my husband decided to ask, we weren't sure. Yeah. And it was in Italian. So, but the night before, my husband had looked it up, what are the chances of us, of anyone meeting the Pope? And he asked ChatGPT, but the answer was 1 in 450 million. And so we're like, well, I don't know.
Yeah. Wow.
But it happened. Yeah.
It happened, and we are so happy for you, Roxane. What a great story, and everybody could go to the National Catholic Register and look at this story and read her whole story. Thanks, Roxane, for being with us today.